Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Goopplycast. This is our first edition of the Goopplycast ever that we've done live, I believe. Anyway, so we are going to talk today about TikTok versus Reels and kind of get into the whole this versus Reels and see which one you guys prefer better than what we prefer better. Um, so if you do join us, you can chat along with us. I'll monitor the chat. I'm Matt. This is Roy. And let's go ahead and get right into it. So we did a Goopplycast last week, and we tried to do it not live and pre-recorded, but it didn't record right. It had all my audio and none of Roy's. But we basically talked about TikTok, and Roy had never downloaded TikTok before, so I kind of convinced him to download it, and you downloaded it. What are your thoughts on TikTok?
I was super resistant to get TikTok. I'm actually super resistant over any brand new social media, but downloaded TikTok, gave it a try, and I'm pretty sure we finished recording probably roughly around 9ish, 9 to 9:30, somewhere
Yeah,
in
it was
there.
like
But
9.
I was on TikTok until 11 o'clock at night.
I
After
told
that,
you.
I mean that
It's
all
addicting.
after we got off.
It is
I
addicting, I
mean, it
tell
just
you.
you'd watch one video and you'd go to the next, and then all of a sudden the next one is a multi-parter, and you just got to know how the story ends. So you got to go and watch the other parts of the story. And yeah, it is definitely a rabbit hole. Um,
Yeah.
it's better than I thought it was. That first night's probably the only time that I've used it to that extent. But I do go on there at least once a day and watch a few TikTok stories and go from there.
Well, when this pandemic really started, and we were stuck at home so much, TikTok actually helped me get through it a lot more. There were funny videos on there. Um, Everybody was doing them, and like I said, it helped me get through the 3 or 4 months of lockdown that we had. So yeah, so I like TikTok. So in this video, we're going to kind of talk about TikTok versus Reels. Reels is the new Instagram clone, whatever you want to call it, Instagram's version of Reels or of TikTok. Now, Roy and I were just talking off camera about it prior to join the YouTube, and he said that he thought that it should be its standalone app, and I agree with you on that. But in a lot of sense, I feel like um, it still needed to be integrated into Instagram in order to be its own, to be all combined into one and to get people to use it. So I could still see it becoming a standalone app later on because IGTV has it. And I think Instagram might have just pushed it out early because of the potential ban or now the so-called ban that will happen in September.
I mean, that makes perfect sense. Is in its current iteration where it's more or less integrated into Instagram. Um, I don't feel like I don't feel like it's going to get utilized as much because it's just another baked away feature, whether it's new and shiny or whatever. I don't feel that people are going to go to Instagram for the Reels feature. Instagram is still there for your pictures, and yeah, it might still become its own separate app. But I think if they want to compete with TikTok, they don't stand a chance unless it's its own separate app. When I go through Instagram, sometimes I'll see a reel, sometimes I won't, and it just feels like I'm just looking at Instagram.
Well, so did you ever look in the search feature? Because you can actually go into Reels in the search feature. Have you seen that?
I have not tried that. Let me just.
So if you go into search, so here's the thing. Reels has its own separate section in the search at the top. So see where it says Reels down there?
Yeah.
There you go. Tap that and it opens up Reels and you can swipe up and keep going through them.
Here's some using TikTok on Reels.
Yeah. Everybody's uploading their TikToks to Reels now, just to get it going.
But you see that right there, you just illustrated the problem with Reels. To somebody who obviously I don't play around on Instagram a whole lot. I browse it, but I don't ever post to it. I wasn't aware that I could access Reels that way.
Yeah.
Whereas TikTok being its own standalone app, you go into TikTok knowing what you're looking at, what you're looking for, and what it's all about. If you never hit that search button on Instagram, you're never going to find Reels.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out where it was, and I think they need to make it its own tab if it's going to stay built into the Instagram app.
Agreed.
Just because I just don't feel like it's going to take off if it doesn't have more discovery, and I agree with you on that. So let's talk about TikTok. So what is your favorite TikToker? Do you have a favorite yet?
I have not found a favorite TikToker. I've come across a couple things that I really have enjoyed. There was one TikToker that, let's see, who is it? His username is Hosea Miller, or Josiah Miller, however you want to pronounce it. And I came across it randomly that first night that I was looking at TikTok. And he talks about how he met somebody else on TikTok, some girl in, I believe, California, and she was moving to Florida where he lives, and they'd gotten to know each other over TikTok pretty extensively, and they were FaceTiming and all this other stuff over this period of time. And when she decided she was going to move to Florida to live with her family, he flew cross country, drove cross country with her, and they TikTok their entire journey. That was kind of neat.
I hate to tell you that. I hate to tell you this, but that's fake. There's like 3 or 4 people who have done TikToks like that I've seen. I don't know if their story is real or not. Somebody's story was probably real, and now other people have made it into it.
I also really enjoy the videos of the dogs that have, the robotic voices that somebody set up for telling its little story. I think those are kind of funny.
Yeah.
So no, I do not have a favorite. I've not been on TikTok enough to have a favorite TikToker or somebody that I'm following on a regular basis. There's a couple that I've seen that were kind of funny, but
mine is the McFarlanes. It's the dot McFarlanes on there. And it's really funny. It's a whole family, and they do TikToks. Even their dad does TikToks. I think they were YouTubers before, and they're still YouTubers. And then there's a dentist office that does TikToks. I can't find them for some reason. Yeah, and then there's Ross Smith. He does TikToks with his grandma, and they're hilarious.
I do think I found him after you had told me about him.
Yeah, his grandma does them, and with him, and they're all funny as hell. Like, yeah, all funny as hell. Yeah, so if you do that, check out Ross Smith and the McFarlanes. They're all good TikTok videos to watch through. So let's talk about the ban. Trump has signed an executive order about the ban that all sales need to be finalized by the 20th, or nobody can buy TikTok after that. And it would eventually be banned in the US. What are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think somebody's going to buy it? And if so, who?
Well, the who is probably the only variable in the situation. I don't think it's a matter of if it's going to get bought. There's too much money to be made, and too much money to be lost by TikTok getting banned and eventually shut down here in the US. I couldn't possibly think that a deal will go through. I mean, even if it's a 13th hour deal where TikTok finally approves, or at least there's an agreement of understanding enough that the ban won't go through. I'm almost 100% positive that if there is something in the motion, then the ban won't go through, whether or not a deal has been finalized or not. Um, so, I mean, obviously, we know Microsoft is a front runner for buying TikTok. Um, you
Uh,
know,
so I just read that Twitter has been in talks with the owners of TikTok for a possible buyout as well. Um, I have mixed feelings about that because TikTok bought, or excuse me, Twitter bought Vine, and Vine was really popular, and then Vine was shut down because of money and budgets and all that. Um, so I would hope that if they do buy TikTok, that it doesn't end up the same fate as Vine does.
I guess that all depends on how, what the staying force power of TikTok is. Once the fads of it kind of die down, how much power does it have to really stay influential in the social media market?
Yeah. And then obviously Microsoft is a big player in the game, and that could very well happen. I mean, I could see Microsoft, buying the app. They were originally talking about buying um, US version, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, I think, markets. So the other markets, any other markets out there would stay their own. But I guess they've been talking at buying out the whole company as well. Um, and I don't know. I guess that could happen as well.
Yeah, it's anybody's game at this point. But like I said, I think there's too much money at stake there, knowing how popular TikTok is, at least right now, um, for somebody to not buy it.
Yeah, no, and I agree. So let's say TikTok gets banned. Do you think everybody's going to merge over to Reels? Say there's no merger that goes through. Do you think that Reels will take off?
I think if Facebook plays their marketing right, Reels will take over. I mean, Reels is a very natural successor to TikTok. Should anything ever happen to TikTok, but Facebook has to put out the marketing for Reels. They have to. I think they have to do more for Reels, like give it its own app or give it its own tab inside Instagram.
So here's what I think that Facebook is doing, and when I say Facebook, I mean Instagram too. Facebook had two different versions of TikTok prior to Reels. They were two standalone version apps, and they didn't take off. So I think that Facebook and Instagram are launching Reels inside Instagram, and I think it's going to break out and be its own standalone app down the line. I think they rushed it to get it out because of the ban. They wanted to get everybody over because actually a lot of people on TikTok were pushing their audience to follow them on Instagram so they could post more videos. I mean, very well knowing that Instagram was working on a version of TikTok. And I think that's honestly it. I think that if Instagram is going to make it, it has to make it as a standalone app. But I think they pushed it to market to get it out there so that they could convert people over for a potential ban and make it successful.
I mean, it definitely sounds like the right business strategy. Facebook is probably the only company out there that stands to gain from TikTok being banned. And like I said, Reels seems like a pretty decent replacement for TikTok. I don't even think it's going to be a question,
It's
especially with
I
with
mean
all the.
it's pretty much it's same thing. I mean, if you open the Reels version under the search feature, it's very much the same.
It
You
works
can
exactly the same.
yeah. I did a Reels. Where is my Reels? So here's the other thing too. When you go into somebody's profile, There's also a Reels icon there, and you can view all their Reels that they've done. So I've done two. I did one of my dog just to try it out, and then I did a second one that I was preparing for a Zoom meeting. If you can see that.
I remember seeing that one. That one, I believe, showed up in your story.
That's because I shared it to my stories. I didn't share it to my feed, so the only way you would see it if you went into the Reels app or the Reels yeah, well, I'm just going to call it the Reels app inside of the search feature. So I just wanted to see kind of more or less what the discovery was. My first TikTok, which was just my dog staring out the window, got 132 views, and it got one like. My preparing for a Zoom meeting reel got 89 views and 6 likes. So, I mean, I feel like I got more coverage over on TikTok than I do on Reels, but TikTok's still around, so that very well could be why. Are you there? Or are you frozen? Roy is. Oh, there you are. Can you hear us? Okay. You were frozen for a sec.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So Apple was rumored to be buying or to be in talks to buy TikTok, and then they came out shortly after that rumor came out that they are not interested and were not in place of it. Do you see another company that hasn't been mentioned or rumored to possibly be a player in buying TikTok? Somebody that just could come out of the left or right and just say, "Hey, I'm buying TikTok."
I mean, man, I think the only company that I could still see being a major player in it, possibly, maybe Google, come out and want to buy TikTok. I would not be surprised in the least bit if we found out tomorrow that Google was in talks to buy TikTok.
That was my thought too, and I thought YouTube. I was like, YouTube, it could be a good push into being built into YouTube in some ways. Obviously, I still think it needs to say its own entity, but um, Google Plus failed long ago, and Google has often wanted to get into the social media market, and this would be an opportunity for them.
Absolutely.
Um, what else? So I think Facebook obviously could be playing to possibly talk about it. I kind of followed it, and Mark Zuckerberg was asked the question if they were interested in buying it, and they didn't publicly openly say anything that they were in talks or anything. So, but I think that Facebook could very well be in talks to buy TikTok. The other option too I was thinking of is Snapchat. I think it could very well, I mean, I don't know if Snapchat has enough money to buy them. But it could. And then I often thought too about like, what if an off the wall company just bought it like Netflix or something? Like just a company that's totally out of its league. Like it doesn't play in the social media market or something, but like,
I mean, it sounds absurd, but if you would have told me, you know, 13 years ago that Netflix was going to find a way to put a bunch of movies online for people to watch, I mean, that was something that we wouldn't have thought possible. I mean, Netflix was strictly a DVD by mail system, and who does DVD by mails now? I mean, granted, both are a movie industry, but that doesn't mean that they're not willing to branch out and try new things, because obviously they are, and we know they've been successful at it.
Yeah. So here's the other thing too, is I remember, and I'm not necessarily, I can't remember. Beam. Do you remember Beam? Did you ever use Beam?
That sounds super familiar. I think
So
I did, but I couldn't even remotely tell you what it is
Beam was
anymore.
a social media experiment that Casey Neistat did. He's a YouTuber, and he built a Beam app, and it was kind of, I can't even remember what it was about now. Honestly, I don't. Um, but CNN bought Beam, and that's just kind of what I thought. I'm not saying that CNN is going to go out and buy TikTok, but I think that it's very possible that another company that's not in the streaming service could branch out and buy TikTok that we're not even thinking about.
Yeah, just get their foot in the door. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of money to be made in TikTok, and there's a lot of money to be made in social media to begin with. Um, and it wouldn't surprise me if some off the wall company was in the talks for it. I mean, all they have to do is own it and, put somebody who knows what they're doing in charge of it and reap the benefits.
Yeah. Well, I mean, unless it's like like a social media company already, they
True.
could they could just start to integrate it into all their services, kind of like what Facebook did to Instagram. But it still stayed its own separate entity, um, which is what I like about it, and I hope TikTok will stay that way. I would hate to see TikTok get bought up by a big social media company like Snapchat or something, and then try and integrate the two apps into one.
Mm-hmm.
That just, I feel like, would fail. So
That's what I would be afraid of if Facebook were to buy it and they were like, "Yep, we're just going to make this Instagram Reels. We're just going to rebrand it and basically brand over."
yeah, and I honestly don't think that Instagram would do that, just because they have often they kept WhatsApp app the same. They kept Instagram separate. Um, you know, I don't really see that happening. So it'll be interesting to see what Microsoft does with it, though, if they buy it.
Hopefully, nothing. Hopefully, they just let it be the way that it is.
Well, we
Microsoft is
can.
great at the core things that they've done, but we've seen the things that they've branched out with and tried to mess with and has completely messed it up.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I definitely wouldn't want them to make it a video gaming of any sort because they're technically like really into the video gaming stuff of it right now, and I wouldn't want them to see them trying to do that at all. That would suck. I think so. Um, well, anyways, I guess time will just tell what happens with it. We will see probably in about a month or less than a month. No, a little over a month.
Yeah, just a
September
little over a month.
20th. Yeah, a little over a month. We'll kind of see what happens to it. I definitely log on to Reels. I usually do Reels in the morning. I do Snapchat at night, or excuse me, TikTok at night, Reels in the morning. Um, and then I try to stay off of it during the day. Otherwise, I just get so tied up in everything, and then I never get any work done.
I can understand that.
Um, but yeah, I guess we'll kind of see what happens, and obviously, if it does get sold, then um, what they do with it. So to be continued on this part. Let's talk. What do you want to talk about?
I mean, we could talk about Android 11, but my exposure to that's been super limited thus far.
I really don't want to talk about Android 11. Like I cannot for everybody watching. I downloaded Android 11 yesterday because I wanted the chat bubbles, and to right now I still cannot get the chat bubbles to work. I have tried everything and they won't work, but they work for Roy. He texted me and said, "Oh, yep, they upgraded it and it works for me." Um, so I think it's just a bug in mine because I've tried everything. I got its settings all correct. I tried restarting. I've tried everything, and I cannot get the chat bubbles to load.
It honestly, like I mean, you could totally tell the chat bubbles are some beta. It feels funky. Like I was telling you earlier, you have no choice but to use Android 11's chat bubble system for any chat heads for Messenger. So, for those of you who don't know what chat bubbles are, they're just like if you're using Android and you have Messenger open, you can have chat heads open. So they're floating around on your screen, and you can just open straight up to your conversation by tapping the chat bubble. And that's exactly what Android's chat bubbles are. But you have to use their native chat bubble system for Facebook Messenger. And no matter how many chat heads I've opened up for Facebook Messenger, after a little while, Android 11 closes those chat heads. So I have a couple friends that I chat with exclusively on Facebook Messenger, and I cannot keep those chat heads open. So hopefully that'll get fixed with the final release. Like I said, it feels kind of clunky. It feels like it's still in beta. We'll see what happens. Aside from the chat bubble system that is definitely nifty for messages, which, by the way, it does only work with the Android Messages app. It doesn't work for any other like if you're using, like, say, Oxygen OS or One UI, it won't work for their native Messages apps. You have to use the Android Messages app. It does have this music player that's built into the pull down menu. Not that you couldn't get it in the pull down menu, but the way that it's in there feels a lot more intuitive, a lot more useful. I like that. Oh, I can switch between apps. Look at that. I just found out. So Apple Music, switch over.
Oh yeah,
There's
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. I seen that. I seen that in one of the YouTube videos that I watched on it.
That is super handy.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like that feature. So, yeah, I mean, the one reason I downloaded the beta was for chat heads, and literally can't get it to work. Like, I must have tried everything. I deleted conversations. I started over. I enabled the settings. I disabled the settings.
You restart your phone?
I restarted my phone multiple times. I turned it all the way off. It's just not meant to be. I hope it makes it to the final release. We'll see. I think Android has a history of pulling features at the last minute. And chat bubbles, I think, has been in betas before. I recall.
I believe you are correct. I want to say they. I'm not even 100% sure, but I want to say I read something was in Android 10's developer beta, but that was before my time really messing around with Android.
Yeah. So, yeah, I guess we'll kind of see where Android 11 goes. I've also been testing iOS 14. Really stable version of iOS 14. I haven't tested any developer betas for it yet, as in the apps. I know you sent me some that were out there, but none of them on the list are anything that I would use. So I haven't tried the widgets with any third-party betas yet.
I'm really happy they added in this last beta build. They added in the Apple TV widget, and
yeah.
not that I mean, I have an Apple TV Plus subscription actually through my brother. I'm pretty sure it's my brother who subscribes to it because I have access to it and I'm not subscribing to it at the current moment. But the shows that I'm watching right now on both Crunchyroll and Amazon Prime Video, I'm watching Eureka and I'm watching God of High School, both simultaneously. They show up on my Apple TV, which when I'm ready to watch it, I can just, because I have it on Smart Stack, I flip up to the Apple TV widget from the news widget and I tap on the episode I want to watch because that's what I'm watching next, and it just opens it up, and it's a nice quality of life difference.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. Yeah, I'm kind of hit or miss on the widgets. I don't have any widgets on my home screen. I mostly have them on the second screen, just with all my folders itself. But we'll see what kind of comes out. There is a popular app called Deliveries that I use, and I'm very much hoping that they release a widget for iOS 14. We'll see. I mean, they maintain their app pretty well. I would gladly pay for it if it was an extra feature. I think I paid for this app in the first place, but um, I feel like I don't know. I feel like developers are going to start having to do in-app purchases in order to make it worth their while for them. Um, it's just it's not feasible to sell apps anymore. And develop them for 5 years. Um, so one of the apps that I use a lot now is Fantastical. Um, and I really actually hope Apple buys Fantastical. Have you ever used Fantastical?
I have used Fantastical. In fact, it is. I currently have it. I use it on some of my. I mainly use it on my watch more than I use it on my phone. I actually use the native calendar app on my phone to input things. And that's only just because that's what I've used for years. And I got Fantastical originally off of your recommendation because of its integration with Apple Watch, and I really enjoyed the conversation that it provided. However, using the infographic modular watch face, which is what I use, I don't like the complication that Fantastical uses for the infographic modular versus the regular modular. On the regular modular, it would tell me the time of the event and the event, and it would color code it based on the calendar that I used it. And on the infographic modular, it gives me like this timeline of the day, and it just has this line based on what color calendar it is. It doesn't tell me any event information. But I do still use Fantastical on some of my other watch faces, like when I use the what is it called? The regular infograph one, the one that has the analog clock. I use Fantastical on that one.
So I hit a bunch of my calendars. I think everything's okay. So the one thing I like is, let's see, can you see it? They're right here. There's a join button. And I can put in my Zoom credentials. I can link it to my Zoom account. And so when I have a Zoom meeting in there and it shows that it's a Zoom meeting, it'll just give me one click button to join the Zoom meeting. And I absolutely love that feature. It works on all of the platforms. So on Mac, it works on there. So when I pull it up on my Mac, it'll show just one click button, and it'll automatically open my Zoom meeting right into it. No passwords, no nothing. It's perfect. And you can actually do it with other platforms like Google Meet. If you use Google Calendars, you can actually do it with Google Calendars as well. During the pandemic, we signed up for a pro account for Zoom, just because we were having so many Zoom meetings during our Zoom happy hours and meetups on the weekends with our friends, just because during the pandemic you couldn't go anywhere. And it was actually kind of the best part of 2020, because you can actually, we engaged with a lot more of our friends that are out of state now. During this pandemic, it's kind of brought us together with Zoom. We've done happy hours. We've done, weekend parties on there, Saturday night parties and stuff like that. Everybody grabs drinks. We did a barbecue. Everybody barbecued at their house, came in, sat down in front of the computer and did it. So it was kind of good. And I just love that Fantastical added that ability just to do a one-click link to it, because I put everything in a calendar and it all works, simultaneously. So yeah. Let's see. What else? Anything else you want to talk about?
Not that I can think of. We covered iOS beta, we covered Android 11 a little bit. Talked about TikTok and Reels, which was our main point of conversation.
Yeah. So when do you think the iPhone's going to be released? Any predictions? Do you think it's going to be October or November, if you had to choose?
if I had to choose, I would say November. I think that'll be November. It wouldn't be the first time they've released a phone in November. I mean, albeit that was the iPhone 10 that they released in November, the first time they brought a phone out on a different launch cycle. Um, the rest of them came out, I'm thinking, they usually came out in what, early October, out for pre-order in late September or something like that.
So they come out in they a lot of times come out in September, and then like 2 weeks later or a week later it's like a week later they go on sale, and then a week later you can pick it up, I think. Usually they hold the event on a Wednesday. Uh Pre-orders start on Friday, and then you could pick it up the following Wednesday. I think last time it was in September because um the event was on a Wednesday. I pre-ordered on a Friday, and I was in New York the following week. And I actually ended up picking up my iPhone in New York. But so I think it's usually within normally a week or 2 weeks after the event they announce it. You're right. They did push out the iPhone 10, I think, to a November launch. And I think that was mostly just because they were behind in production on it, maybe. So I feel like that could happen this year as well. My prediction is we're going to have an event in September. They're going to announce the release of it. They're going to announce, the release date for iOS and all the software updates. And then I think we could see a first phone in October if they do like a split thing, and then we could see if they do a 3 phone model and they have a third phone, we could see that maybe released in November.
From the rumor that I read, said their original, at least their original plan was they were going to do something similar to the iPhone 10. They were going to release two of the 4 rumored models first, and then the other 2 rumored models afterwards. And I want to say they were going to release the 2 because there's they're going to have the small iPhone, then the iPhone Max and the iPhone Pro and the iPhone Pro Max, whatever numbers they attach to it is whatever. But they would release the regular and Pro first, and then they would release both the Maxes later. I believe is what I read.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see. I don't know. I can't see them releasing 4 iPhones.
I agree. Not with the SE
I
still
can't
out.
see it. They just released the iPhone SE. I just can't see them releasing 4 iPhones. I could see a 3 iPhone model again. Um, but I don't know. Just my thoughts. I think we'll see at least 1 iPhone released in November, or excuse me, October, and then possibly, another phone in, if they did like the same thing, like an iPhone 11 and then an iPhone 11 Pro Max, I think we could see the Pro and Pro Max maybe in November. But again, I don't know. I don't I don't work at Apple, so it's hard to say.
Especially when you throw in production, the fact that production has been slowed down due to the pandemic, that throws a whole different cur- curveball at it.
I don't work at Apple. I'm just saying I don't work at Apple. Honestly, I just threw in the Zoom background because I do have it for some of my Zoom meetings. Um, I don't work at Apple Park, but I wish I worked at Apple someday maybe.
Someday.
So yeah, I guess we'll kind of see what happens. I don't know. So much up in the air. I just can't wait for September. I really don't want to. I don't want to push the summer along so much, but I really want to find out what's going to happen because I upgrade every year. You're still on the iPhone 10. I was on the iPhone 10, the 10s Max, and now I'm on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and I will get whatever phone comes out. That's for sure. I just I just kind of want to get to it. It's hard over the summer to wait for it. I don't really, I like summer a lot, but it's one of the things that I actually look forward to in November.
Yeah,
Or excuse me, September.
it's my iPhone's been giving me issues not wanting to read my SIM card, so I've been fairly exclusively on the Pixel um, for the last month now, a little over a month now. I mean, I'll swap my SIM card in my iPhone, and it'll works probably about 50 to 75% of the time. Sometimes it'll give me a SIM card error message, and I'll just take my SIM card back out. But I will be upgrading this year. I'm very excited to see what Apple can offer us as far as what type of features will be exclusive to the iPhone, other than we got the rumored 5G, we got the rumored obviously they're going to give us better processor, they're going to give us a better camera. But what other features are Apple going to throw at the new iPhone that will be exclusive to this model that I'm excited to hear about? I am still very much wanting an always-on display for an iPhone. I know you and I feel very differently about always-on displays, but I really like always-on displays. And in fact, I honestly feel that the Pixel's always-on display is one of the best always-on displays I've ever used.
I agree. I don't really use an always on display. I like my phone in dark. When I set it down. Um, One of the things that I hate about my Pixel, and I could probably turn this off, but when I put it on my stand-up charger at night in my bedroom, um, the the clock is always on. Like, I know I can tip it upside down, and then it hides and goes into do not disturb mode, but I can't. Uh, it just like I think I have to go into the settings and turn off always on display before I go to bed. Otherwise, it just stays on. But I don't know. I haven't dug into it as much. Normally, I just leave my Pixel in the office now before I go to bed and just put my iPhone on my charger next to me. But yeah, I guess we'll kind of see what they do with that. They did release an always on display on the Apple Watch last year, didn't they?
They did, and it was literally the only
New
new
feature.
feature.
That's what I'm really kind of worried about. I'm like, so I'm on so the last one they did was the 5, right? The Apple Watch 5, Series 5.
Yes,
So I'm on
yes.
the Series 4. My Series 4 is actually held up pretty well. But I'm ready for a new iPhone, or I'm ready for a new Apple Watch. I didn't upgrade last year. I'm hoping that it gives me enough to upgrade this year.
So one of the things I'm really hoping for, my wish list for Apple Watch this year, my only wish list for Apple Watch this year, is one of the early rumors was that it will have a pulse oximeter. It'll read your O2 levels in your blood and whatnot, because they have the little things. You go to the doctor, they put them on your fingertip, they can tell you your
Yeah,
O2
yeah, yeah.
levels. And being somebody who is asthmatic, if I'm having an asthma episode or I'm feeling short of breath, being able to see my oxygen levels is a pretty important aspect of, like, how screwed am I? How dire is this asthma attack? Can I wait a little bit longer and see if this gets better? Should I hurry up and get to the doctor? Um, Being able to have that information at my fingertips could be very beneficial to me.
Yeah, and I think they've talked about being able to check your blood sugar possibly somewhere down the line. Hopefully that's kind of where they want to go. I don't know how that would actually work. Um, if they were able to do that, but that would be obviously a pretty cool feature. Um,
I have a friend diabetic, and he went out and got himself an Apple Watch specifically because he has a continuous glucose meter hooked up to him where it just continuously gives him his blood sugar readings. And Apple Watch, they have an app for Apple Watch so that he has that information on his watch, and that's pretty handy. So I know that's Apple Watch has a lot of fantastic health applications available
They
to it.
do, and they impress us. Like, I think I was impressed with the Apple Watch Series 4s when they did the fall detection. I thought that was a hell of a feature to release into that, because that not only helps the elderly, but if you're out there working on a ladder on your house or something and you fall, that's an excellent feature. And then obviously uh, the heart stuff that they've done in there, for AFib, uh, just amazing, kind of the
Mhm.
technology that they've done in it. So it'll be interesting to definitely see what they do with it. Yeah, so I guess we'll see. The only wish that I have about the Apple Watch is that it stays the same design. I love the design. Could be a little thinner, but as long as the existing Apple Watch bands work, just because my camera's all blurry. Just because I have so many Apple Watch bands, and I would hate to have to go back and buy all the Apple Watch bands all over again. That was a lot of money. Um, so we'll kind of see. They've changed the size of the screen and stuff like that, but they've kept the bands universal across all of it. So we'll kind of see where that happens and what happens with it. So lots to see coming up. So I guess we will end it here. I think we've done enough talking for the night. Um, I think your webcam worked out really good. Your 40 something dollar webcam and 30, what was it, $30 mic?
Something like that,
$40.
yeah.
Yeah. So pretty good setup. So we'll try and keep this up every week or couple weeks or something like that. We'll put a schedule up. So if you're watching this on a replay, be sure to obviously subscribe to the channel, and you'll get notifications if you turn on the little bell icon there when we do live videos. So I think it's obviously pretty cool what we're doing, and hopefully we'll continue it along. If you have a topic suggestion, leave it in the comments, and I'll check the comments throughout the week and work on something in the next future. So, alrighty, we'll go ahead and end